You're listening to STRUTCAST, weekly podcast dedicated to everything spring turkey hunting. All right, here we go. This is the first installment of STRUTCAST, and before I get into episode 1, I want to say thank you to each of you who decided to give this podcast a shot and see what we're doing, and we hope that this is informative and entertaining and that you will continue to tune in throughout the spring and see what we're doing here. And I also want to encourage you to check out our website at www.strutcast.com, and you can find us on Facebook at The Strutcast as well as Instagram at The Strutcast. And I want to encourage you to interact with us, share your pictures and videos, your stories. We want to include that in what we're doing. We're going to offer different content on the web that pertains to our podcast, but also in between, and some of the stuff that our listeners provide could end up on the podcast. We want this to be a community type thing that is a resource for turkey hunters, not only entertaining but also informative and educational. So when I first decided that I wanted to do this, or I had the idea, I talked to a lot of people and got a lot of feedback to see where I thought I stood with it, and one of the main people that I talked to that provided a lot of feedback was Jordan Summitt. And Jordan is the executive producer of Buck Commander, and he's also one of the figures in Strut Commander. And he offered a lot in the way of feedback and friendly advice. And as a matter of fact, I originally named the podcast, and it was a name that was already chosen, and I had to kind of rebrand before I ever got going. And in brainstorming ideas for names, STRUTCAST is a name that Jordan actually came up with. So with that being said, I felt like episode 1, it was only right that I would have Jordan on. All right, so I got Jordan here on the line. What's up, Jordan?
What's up, buddy?
So as it is, this project started with me talking to a few friends and people that I valued their opinion. And Jordan was really one of those main people that I presented this idea to, and it was kind of an interesting moment where he was like, "Man, are you serious? I've thought about the same thing. I've thought that would be a great idea." So, of course, I'm going to have Jordan on the first podcast. So, tell us a little bit about you and what's going on in Jordan world.
Man, I appreciate you inviting me to tag along on some of this, and like I said, it was really interesting whenever you called me about it, because, I mean, as soon as you said that, I was like, this has got to be a joke, because I literally had an idea, I mean, almost the same exact idea. And, I've never really messed with podcasts and, listened to a few. I've never really heard like a really good turkey one that I enjoyed, following. And, once you and I got to talking about it, I was like, man, this could be something really cool, and give people something to listen to on the way to the turkey woods, and maybe learn a little bit and help people out too.
Yeah, that was a lot, and I shared with you when we talked about it is, last year, really I guess over the last year and a half or so, I've gotten a lot more into podcasts, listening to podcasts, and have been a guest and a co-host on a couple of different podcasts with some of the other things that I do. And last year, traveling around to different locations, turkey hunting a lot in the spring, I got interested in trying to find more and more turkey content. And I found that there's not a lot of it. I mean, there's a few things here and there, and you'll find some of the more popular outdoor and hunting podcasts, and they may have an episode where they talk about turkey hunting, or they have a guest on that is, more primarily in the turkey hunting industry or turkey hunting world. But you don't find as much of the turkey-specific content that you do deer hunting or archery or backpacking or lots of other outdoor activities. So that was kind of what spurred it for me. Is look, if I would love to have more turkey podcasts to listen to. So, that's kind of what started the idea.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you're in the truck riding and especially getting into this time of year where guys like you and I, that's all that's on our brain, quite honestly, is I'm thinking about turkeys. I'm thinking about, the opening morning coming up here pretty soon. It's just really cool to be able to have a podcast that you can listen to, learn with, and identify with too, you know, and be able to follow along some people and hear their struggles and hear what they're dealing with and hear the, you know, the good stuff too.
Yeah.
I'm fired up to be a part of it, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you are. And you know what we're gonna do with this podcast is we're gonna do a weekly release, and we're gonna try to do that every Monday throughout the spring, and we're gonna kind of follow the spring, you know, east to west, and in terms of trying to bring topics that are relevant to the most current seasons. I mean, we'll revisit all different areas, but you know, like right now, we're getting into it in the South. You know, Mississippi youth season opens a week from today. I know the southern part of Florida has already opened, and the youth hunt anyway, and I think their actual regular season opens, and then you and I are going to be together in a couple of weeks for the Alabama opener, and then the Mississippi opener is that same weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So these you know, we're going to kind of try to hit relevant topics for the hottest areas and kind of move that from March to May. And like you said, what I hope is we'll be able to bring not only some reporting to where people can kind of get some information from different people that we have on the podcast about how the season's going and what's going on in their areas or what they're hearing from people in their areas. Also, you know, information, education, and hopefully some entertainment too. We obviously want to just talk turkey and let people tell stories and, you know, be entertaining as well.
That's right. That's right.
So, I guess we just hinted at it a little bit, but what do you got coming up? I mean, I know you and I are going to be in Alabama the second Saturday in March, but
yeah, that's right. I wish I was going to Florida this year. It's not going to work out for me, unfortunately, with my schedule. But actually, next weekend I plan on taking my son out for youth season. I'm kind of torn where to go right now. Last year we went to Texas. Their South Zone opens next weekend, and he had a heck of a hunt. Had two gobblers come in and busted both of them. And he was actually asking me the other day. He said, "Dad, can we go back to Texas this year? That was really fun." I said, "Yeah, I'm sure we can line that up."
I think every turkey hunter, young to old, that experiences Texas has that same feeling. Can we go back to Texas?
Oh man, it's a good slump buster too when you've just had a hard time with them daggum Easterns.
Oh yeah.
Over here in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, when you've been dealing with those for a couple weeks.
Oh yeah.
And you get a chance to go over to Texas and those Rios, the way they gobble and they sound like a clown laughing, and it kind of makes me giggle whenever I hear it. But they get real fun to hunt, and especially if you hunt unpressured birds. I'm not saying that all Rios are easy. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are listening that would beg to differ, but
well, I think
it's a lot of fun.
One of the big differences is with the landscape, and for whatever I'm not going to sit up here and act like a biologist, but my observation tells me that for whatever reason, the more open landscape and everything, the Rios, it's generally everywhere you go, there's a higher number of turkeys. So
that's right.
As opposed to what probably most people that are listening to this, hopefully we get a good audience and a good listening audience, but I'm sure that a lot of our people are going to be, you know, in our home state of Louisiana and Mississippi and in the South, and what we're used to is, you know, we got one or two birds on a piece of property, and you're messing with those birds on any given hunt. And you can go out to Texas, and most properties that you go, especially if you go find an outfit somewhere, they got a lot of land, big chunks of land, and they got more. The general flock of turkeys is bigger. There's more gobblers.
A bunch of birds.
So you can kind of get into a whole lot more on any given morning, as opposed to what we're used to, where we're kind of, you know, we at the most you might have a group of 3 or 4 mature birds, and over there you may have 5, 6, 7, and you may have 2 or 3 groups of them in a general area, you know, and those, and like you said, they're also a lot more vocal. So. But I am actually going to go to Florida, but I'm not going for the opener. I'm going the week after we go to Alabama, I think.
Oh, man. I am jealous.
So I'm going, I I can't think of the name of the town, but it's a little north of Orlando.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Daytona. I think I'm outside of, like, maybe an hour south of Daytona. I don't want to lie,
Oh,
but
nice.
something like
Okay.
that. So,
Okay.
yeah, I got a friend there that's got some properties, and he's got a bunch of birds lined up. So I'm going to get to go over to Florida, but I'm not going to be able to hit the opener. And
That's awesome. Is it your first time going to Florida, or have you been before?
no, I've been twice, and
Have you?
both of those times I went for the opener, which was the North Zone opener in Seminole Forest. We drew that limited lottery public
Oh, that's
tag.
awesome.
Yeah, and it was great. They do 2 weeks of
Gotcha.
the lottery hunt. So the first year we went, we drew the first week, and it was phenomenal. We both killed a bird. Me and a friend of mine, we both killed our bird, and we were on turkeys for 3 straight days. It was just lights out. But they do kill a lot of birds. It's a really good hunt if you can get that lottery.
Yeah.
The next year we drew the second week, and it was 3 of us that went, and they had taken a lot of birds off of the place. I think it's about 5,000 or 6,000 acres, and they had taken quite a few birds, and the hunting was a little more difficult. We only killed 1 bird out of the 3 of us. So I have killed my Osceola.
Awesome,
It's
man.
been a while back, but so I'm going to make that trip. What else you got planned? What else you doing this
Man,
spring?
I'm obviously going to come up hunt with you in Alabama, and got a couple other little Alabama hunts lined up that I'll be hitting back and forth. But man, it's weird for me. I don't plan like a whole season. I just kind of go where the wind takes me, I guess. I've got kind of planned through the end of March. But really, like by April and whatnot, it's not been confirmed yet. I am planning on going up to Missouri and Kansas. We do a veteran hunt up there with one of our buck commander guys, Adam LaRoche, and he brings in a bunch of veterans on his property, and we guide them, and most of them have never turkey hunted. Most of them have never hunted before, but they've all been in combat, and just a really cool thing that we can go take those guys out, get them their first birds, and just see the excitement on their face and talk to them and hear their stories and all that. So that's probably the highlight of my year, other than taking my son or my wife somewhere. But I really enjoy going up there and being with those guys. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so. I was able to do that 2 years ago. No, I'm sorry, it was last spring. Last year, I went up to 180 Outdoors in southeast Kansas, and I'm friends with Matt and them, and you'll hear them on this podcast giving us some info for their area throughout the season. But I went up there actually doing some media and different work and hunting while I was there, and turns out they had a father and son, combat, both of them disabled combat veterans that were in camp, and I ended up going with them and guiding them and filming them, and we tagged them out both with 2 birds in 2 days. And
that's awesome.
It was, I still stay in touch with those guys, and it just like you said. I mean, it's a special type of thing that you get to experience. It's a different kind of experience than just taking someone that's never hunted. These guys had hunted a little bit but never had any success, never really had any good place to turkey hunt.
Yeah.
And we not only tagged out, but we had some really exciting hunts on top of that. And it's always nice to go up to the Midwest because, again, it's not quite the same as Texas, but there's still more numbers than we have down south, and it's
That's right.
It's a lot of fun. So I'm going to do that too. I'm going to go to Kansas and Missouri in late April.
Awesome.
So,
other than that, I've got a couple of other Texas trips just for me and myself, and I'll do that, and then I'll probably go up with some friends up to Nebraska late in the year. And man, I tell you what, I'd really love to try that I have yet to do it, but I get an invite from one of my buddies every year to come up to the Northeast and hunt with him. And he's got a little thing. It's like I don't know my maps real well, but all those states up in the Northeast that I've never been to, they're all so close together. He's got a deal where he said we could do it's like a 4-state slam in a day. where we could literally hit 4 different states, get tags for all those states, and if the goblin's good, if the hunting's good, like it should be, you can kill 4 birds in 4 different states in one day. And it's just that would be really cool.
That's my kind
to go do that.
That's my kind of deal there.
Oh yeah, so I'd love to go try the Northeast. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and it's actually a pretty good time to go up there. You know, is middle of May, late May, when pretty much everything in the South is done.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know, it'd be fun.
I have
try one day.
I have a buddy that is actually, you'll see him on a lot of my stuff if you follow along with me. He helps me with a lot of video work, and he's getting married on May the 25th in Pennsylvania.
Oh.
And I've already told my wife that we're kind of scoping this out. If I can find a place to hunt, we may do a combo turkey hunt wedding trip.
There you go. And that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I've never hunted up there either, but I did today. In fact, just a couple hours ago, I got an invite to go to South Dakota, and I'm gonna be just south of the Badlands. So
that'll be beautiful
on Indian ground, reservation ground. True Miriam. So I'm going to be doing that. It's going to be early in the season, but, you know, you get the invite, you go where you're invited, you know.
That's right. So
I'm going to get to do that. I've never been that far out. I've hunted up in North Missouri and southern Nebraska where there's kind of some hybrid Merriam, Rio, Eastern. They don't even know what they got. They just got a turkey. But I've never been able to do the true Western Merriam, so I'm going to get to do that this year. So that's going to be fun.
That'll be awesome, man. That'll be sweet.
Yeah, and I'm planning right now. My son, he killed his first one last year in Mississippi, and we're going to do that again next weekend. So, do you have any like local stuff, Mississippi, Louisiana? But you know, just kind of talking about a little bit more in depth about preseason prep. Kind of what you got any private property that you do any preseason prep on?
Yeah, man. You know, it's funny. My private places around here. I did some public land stuff early in my turkey hunting career in Louisiana, and then it was the Jackson Bienville. So if you're from Louisiana, it was the Jackson Bienville area, and they just recently, the last couple of years, got rid of that place, and they no longer is it public. So I kind of had to make a move and find somewhere else. Well, just about every other good public area is, an hour away. And so I was trying to find something, within 30 to 45 minutes so that I could, go try to get a hunt in before I got to be at work. And got a really good friend of mine up the road, and he's got a deer lease. And he said, man, if you want to come out here, I got a pile of birds. And so I've been going out there the last 3 or 4 years, and had some good success out there. It's kind of like what you said earlier. I mean, it's just typical South turkeys that you may have a big property, but only 2 or 3 mature birds on it.
Yeah.
And I may go to the same amount of property up in Kansas or Missouri, and there's going to be 10 times the birds.
Yep.
And so that's the only thing you got to really deal with down in the South. I know everybody says that their birds are harder to hunt than anywhere else, and I hear that in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, anywhere in the South. I've heard that, and I'll tell you what, I've hunted all 3 of those states. I've hunted Georgia. hunted Florida. All these places, everywhere's got their challenges, and with that, it's also got its positives. Just how much fun it is. The bag limit and whatnot. But as far as down here in Louisiana, forgive me, my son is chasing me outside right now while I'm trying to talk to you. He's fired up. He just got home from school, so he's excited. But anyway, actually tomorrow I'll be going out, patterning my gun, checking it, just wanting to make sure everything's still locked in. I got some new shells this year, so I'm going to kind of switch them out, test them in a couple different choke restrictions, and see how that's going. I've had cameras out for the last couple weeks. Seen just a couple gobblers. They hadn't quite shown up yet, but I got a lot of hens, a lot of jakes this year, so that'll be great for next year. So yeah. I hadn't made my first listen yet of the year. I've restrained myself to do that just because I get out there and I get excited and I want to keep going back and listening. I'm like, no, I just need to hang back. So I'm gonna wait. Might go tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
I might get excited and go tomorrow.
When you go listen, that's when you kind of dip your toe a little bit too far in, and then you have to pay for it. And with Louisiana moving the season back, you know Louisiana, you still got a month before you can hunt Louisiana. So I've got a place in Mississippi where I'm from, the Natchez area. So I've got some family property and some lease property that adjoins it. And I went out last weekend, and we put some cameras out. One of our main places last year where my son killed his first bird, they were trying to do some select cut timber in the winter, and it was so wet they couldn't get finished, and they ended up moving back in there like the week after opening day. And so we had a good youth season, and we had some birds, and we had, on our cameras, I think I had one flock of like 11 jakes and two-year-old longbeards. So I had 13 birds in one flock.
There you go.
They all disappeared when the loggers moved in. But I'm hoping for, I don't suspect to have 13 birds gobbling on this 400 acres, but I'm hoping we're going to have a good season. I really don't know. I'm kind of like you. I put cameras out, and I didn't really, just kind of stayed out of there. So, but I also, one thing that I did this year, and I don't know if anybody's looked into this, and it really doesn't play any big role in the gun's performance, but I actually had my gun Cerakoted. Have you heard of that?
Man, I have, and I actually wanted to do that this year, and I just really kind of forgot about it until just a few weeks ago, and now I'm like, well, it's getting cutting close to time, so I'll just wait and do it this summer or something. But I really want to do that.
I have two shotguns. One that my parents bought me when I was younger. Really, my dad didn't turkey hunt, but he was supportive and he loved to go to the camp, so he would take me and just kind of let me go hunt. And that's kind of how I learned to turkey hunt. But I have that gun, and then I have another gun that I bought that was a duck hunting camouflage. I can't even remember, honestly, either Max 4 or duck blind. But the preservation of the gun with the Cerakote is a big deal for me on the older gun. And on the newer gun, I've got this media stuff going on that I'm doing, and I needed to be neutral in terms of color on camera.
Yeah.
So, but it's really cool. It's kind of I got like an olive drab green color, and so
that's awesome. I can't wait to see it.
I've taken on this idea now that I've always been pretty minimalist. There's all of these new things and new products out on the market for turkey guns, and they've got the thumb hole stocks, and they've got all the different chokes, obviously, and the different types of shells and the different sights and all that. And I've always been very minimalist, man. The way I hunt and hunting with a camera, it also plays into it. I mean, most of the turkeys, every turkey that I've shot, except for maybe when I was younger and I crawled up on one or something like that. I mean, they're within 30 yards, and I don't need a lot of performance. I mean, I'm going to kill them with a regular turkey load, just any basic turkey load. But this year, now that I got my gun, fancied up with the Cerakote thing, I think I'm gonna upgrade that. So I'm gonna be doing what you're talking about.
That's
I'm gonna
cool.
try out some different chokes and some different types of shells and see what kind of pattern I get. And also, I guess a kind of a turkey tip for y'all that are going to be taking your kids hunting. So 2 years ago, when my son got old enough to hunt, I went and got him a TriStar Youth 20 gauge Raptor automatic, and I put one of those. It's actually called a Raptor. It's not made by TriStar. It just happened to have the same name, but it's that Raptor mount that attaches to the barrel, and you can put the Caldwell flip down bipod legs go with it.
Oh, cool.
So you got bipod legs on the front of the stock, or front of the right in front of the hand, whatever part of the gun that's called.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I had him all set up 2 years ago. Opening day of youth season rolls around, and we've got like 8 birds gobbling on this piece, and we're set up, and we got the bipod legs down, and he's sitting in my lap, kind of between my legs, and we're all set. We got 2 birds to break off, and they're still flocked up big time early. We got 2 birds to break off and come up the edge of this food plot we were set up in, and he shot and missed twice. And what we realized after it was over and looking at the video footage and all that, the bipod legs were set too long or too short, one of the two. I'm not sure, but either way, in his mind, as a 9-year-old, he's got the bead on the turkey's head, but he doesn't have his face down on the gun, so he's not looking right down the rib, and he's shooting right over the top of the turkey's head. And it was close, too, so, tight pattern, shooting right over the top of his head. So what we did for last year is I actually went out and bought one of the little, the Simmons turkey scope and put it on the gun. And,
there you go.
For kids, I guess the turkey tip part of this, for kids, he killed the bird last year, slammed him right in the side of the head, just no flop, just done. And for them, it's so much easier. All they got to do is put the turkey's head in the reticle. They come with either a circle or a diamond or, type of shape. And all you got to do is center that up and pull the trigger, and it's over, So if you're taking a kid hunting and you're debating how you're going to set up your gun, consider that. That little Simmons Pro Hunter, I think it's a 3x40 or 3x42 or something like that. It's only like $69 or something like that. It's worth every penny.
That's awesome. Yeah, we with my son, it was kind of the same deal. And this would be a good idea for maybe next week's or another podcast, just doing a straight youth podcast, bro. Because I know you and I could probably talk all day about our kids and how much fun it is to take them out.
Oh, yeah.
We can do this, so we'll make a mental note of that. But as far as the scopes go, with my son, I was really wanting to get him to do the same deal where I felt like he was just a hair too young to be able to remember every little step that you and I have learned over the years about getting settled on the gun and getting your head down and putting the bead on him and everything. And same deal. I wanted to get him something that he could easily put on the turkey, and I got me I think it's a Burris Fast Fire. I got one of those, and that was really good. And we've got a True Glow gobble stopper, I think is what it's called too. But those red dots, it's a great thing to have for kids.
Yeah.
Just really helps them, get the hang of it.
And and everybody knows that's done any turkey hunting. When you're sitting down, especially when you're sitting down with 2 people and one of them being a kid, and you call a bird up close enough to shotgun range, you don't have the kind of freedom that you have in a deer stand to get the kid situated and get everything right and make sure that he's on it. And he's got to, like you said, he's got to have the instinct and the experience to be able to handle that gun in the moment. And the scope.
That's right.
The scope meets you in the middle of a lot of that. So I know a lot of guys that hunt with this guy. I personally have not gone that direction with my shotgun because I've never felt like I needed to. But I think it's great for youth. So, we're getting there. Youth season's going to be here soon, so we're going to start patterning, just verifying the pattern on the gun we have and get after it next weekend. So I'm excited about that. Oh, man, I can't wait. Like I said, it's probably my favorite hunt of the year. It is. It just with what I do for a living, I don't have a chance to take my son out as much as I would like. So it's one of those things that's really special to me and something I'm never gonna miss. Yeah, I think often, in the world that I'm in and you as well, where most of the time we're dealing with camera stuff and travel and all that stuff, and that it makes it hard to tag a kid along as often as you'd like. And I think a lot about I can't wait for the day that I can just follow my son around with a camera and just let him hunt and just video it. And not that I don't want to do it for him, I just want to watch. I want. That's right.
and tell him he was wrong when he messes up.
Yeah, when the bird
just to get a rise out of him.
Yeah, I can't wait for those days. Those are going to be the best days when we can go off and I can just let him have it and help him if he asks and let him learn the way I did. I ain't telling. Right. There ain't no telling how many turkeys I scared half to death before I finally figured.
Oh my gosh!
I'm still learning, still making mistakes, but back in the day, man, it was every mistake you can think of. At some point, I know I made it. So I'm excited for those days. Let's talk a little bit more about STRUTCAST and a little bit more about what's coming and that kind of thing. So we'll have a website. It'll be strutcast.com, and that'll be up when we release this first episode next week. And what we're going to try to do with that is we're going to have one primary thing is when you go and view one of these episodes, we'll have what we'll call a show notes page where we'll share links and website addresses and social media profiles and things of the different people and different things that we talk about. But we're also going to have a lot of media stuff on there where you can see pictures and video clips and stuff of some of the things that we're talking about and the people that we're talking to. And, also want to encourage people, go out and follow us on Instagram and Facebook and on the website. And if you get pictures and you get videos of you hunting and you're listening to the podcast and you're following along, send them in. We'll post them on the site. We want this to be a community kind of thing. We want this to be a resource for people to kind of, when you have to go to work and you can't go hunting, you can listen to us.
That's right. And we want to hear from you too. We want to hear from our followers.
Absolutely.
What it's like going on where they're at, because the whole idea behind this was to give everybody information too on what it's like where they're going. If I'm headed to Mississippi, in the third week of the season, I want to know if you guys have been hunting them and they've been hard headed. I want to know that before I get there.
Yeah.
And it just helps add that extra thing to my arsenal. Just that little tip helps, and we're going to do that for everybody else too. It's just it's one of those things. I'll call Locke and I'll call our other buddies and say, hey man, I'm headed to Alabama this weekend. What are they doing?
Yeah.
And everybody does it. But now we're trying to get it out there in the mainstream media, I guess is what you
give somebody something to tune into and get a report. You see this a lot. I mean, something like what we're doing here. I know down here in Louisiana where I'm at, the southern part of Louisiana, we've got the Louisiana Sportsman and all the fishing things and there are these fishing reports that you want to know if you're going fishing anywhere in South Louisiana, any kind of fishing, it's not hard to find information on what's going on because there's all these outfitters and fishing guides that are, promoting their service, but they're also providing information, telling people, what's happening with the waters and all the variables that affect that. And this will be kind of similar. And, just like you said, I remember over the years before podcasting and stuff like that, I'd be going on a hunt and I was beating the bushes trying to get in touch with any and everybody I knew in that area, trying to get some information, because it's, you want to know what to expect. You want to have a game plan. That's, that it's kind of an interesting point. Talking point is that's what makes turkey hunting so exciting and I think so addictive and so creates such a passion is it's a strategy. It's a game. It's a true hunt, and every true definition of the word hunt. A turkey hunt is that. I mean, it's the common old thing where I say, I can bring you over to my place and put you in a deer stand one afternoon, and you might just be lucky and kill the biggest deer on my property, and you don't even know where you're at, but if I bring you and turn you loose on my place and I don't give you any information, you might find a lonely 2-year-old that comes just run right to you, but chances are, you're going to spend half of your hunt trying to figure out what's going on.
That's right.
Before you feel like you're really in a position to maybe be successful or ultimately successful. So that's the kind of resource we're going to try to provide. And like I said, through the website and through our interaction on social media, we also want to be able to kind of be a community resource where people can share pictures and video and other things. We'll get into all kind of different stuff. I don't know. This is just, we're going to kind of let this go in whatever directions it goes. And,
that's right.
let it be a resource. That's the idea. So I guess I would be remiss if I didn't ask, what's going on with Strut Commander this spring? Do y'all got anything going on you want to share?
Man, I turkey hunt a lot with old Mike Miller, the turkey killer, they call him. And, we talked back at the NWTF show just a couple weeks ago. We're going to get together probably in Alabama. I'm going to try to get together in Texas, and then definitely Nebraska and Kansas. And that's actually that's not as much as we usually do. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's not. Mikey is actually, he's pretty much a full-time guide now. So in the fall, he films for Buck Commander and helps us produce our TV show. In the spring, he turkey hunts and he guides turkey hunts. And so he guides all over the country. He guides in Texas and Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma. He guides all over the place. And anyway, so we spend a lot of time together. Mikey is him and a couple other people are the whole reason that I fell in love with turkey hunting. And I'm kind of like you. Yeah, I didn't grow up doing it. My dad didn't go. I didn't have any family that went or anything like that. I was actually kind of a duck hunter once I got into high school, and just a couple buddies took me, and I enjoyed that, and didn't really care for deer hunting because every time I went, it was cold, and I never saw anything, and I couldn't talk, so it was just really, really boring. And anyway, the very first turkey hunt I went on was with a friend. His name's Bo Dotley up in Arkansas. He took me and Jeff Robertson on a turkey hunt in Arkansas. I had no clue what was going on. I just knew we woke up at daylight and we were going to go out there. He had roosted a bird and we were going to try to get close to it, So we were tiptoeing up this hill, and he turned around and he said, "All right, the bird is about 200 yards from here. So we're going to be easy and move on up in here about another 7,500 yards." So, okay. So I bet we took maybe 10 steps, and I had no idea what I was like. Was that an owl or what was it? It's just I wasn't a turkey hunter. And so I looked at Bo and I was like, what was that? He throws his calls down. He's like, it's over. And I was like, well, I mean, surely we can find another, right? Like he's like, no, that's the bird. That's the one. I thought I roosted him further than that. So he was so mad. But anyway, it got me excited. I was like, well, I know that was a huge failure, but it was a lot of fun. And then I think it was the next year, Matt Duff, another good friend of mine, and he took me to Texas. And once again, that was really my second experience turkey hunting. And I remember waking up that morning, we were standing over this creek in the hill country, and I bet I heard 300 different turkeys just going nuts. Oh, yeah. I mean, all down the creek. It was crazy. And so basically you just point a direction and start walking, and walked down there and had his dad calling for me. We were under a gigantic cedar tree, and it was big enough to hide all three of us to where we were literally like monkeying around underneath this tree, like trying to okay, no, they're coming from over here, and just switching and moving the camera and everything. And anyway, I think there were like 7 or 8 longbeards that came in, and I shot one of them in the back and got my first turkey, and I was right then and there, I'd fallen in love with it.
I remember my first ever turkey hunt. So I killed a turkey on my second ever turkey hunt, and it was a week after my first ever turkey hunt. And I grew up, like I said, in Adams County, Natchez, Mississippi area, and we had a really big piece of property that was timber. Before they broke all those leases up, we had like 10, 12, 13,000 acres. And it bordered national forest, so we really had thousands and thousands and thousands of acres. And there wasn't nearly the popularity. There wasn't as many hunters. I mean, we'd ride around national forest turkey hunting all day and see 1 or 2 people, And but our place, we still had a lot of big timber. And a friend of mine, his grandfather hunted in the club. What my dad and grandfather did too, and they turkey hunted. They were one of the only people in our club that turkey hunted. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come stay at my grandpa's camp with me this weekend? We're gonna go turkey hunting. It's opening weekend." I'm like, "Okay." I'm just a kid that I'll hunt anything, right? And I wasn't even old enough to drive. I was 12 or 13. So, my dad rigs up a shotgun and sends me off, and we go. And his grandfather, we know where we're at because, like I said, it's our hunting lease. And his grandfather goes off, and me and my buddy go off a different direction. And we hear a bunch of different turkeys, and we don't know what we're doing. We're calling at them, and they're gobbling, and we're just, like moving around way too much, is hindsight, doing just about everything wrong. Back then still a lot of us still have the lacrosse green knee-high boots.
Oh, yeah.
Well, back then, I didn't have any of these new fancy performance socks that don't slide down and all that. I just regular old cotton socks, and we had walked all day long, and we're sitting there, and we hadn't heard a gobble. We'd been calling at a bird that was gobbling, but we hadn't heard a turkey or seen a turkey in, 30 or 45 minutes, and my sock was bunched up in the bottom of my boot, and it was driving me crazy. Just driving me nuts. And my buddy was kind of looking the other direction, the big tree we were sitting on. And so I pull my boot off, and I calf-high, long white sock, take the sock off, and I'm shaking the sock out, and I see him throw his gun up, and, I look, and there's a turkey flying off. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I didn't know there was a turkey around, So I blundered that one up real good. And so the next weekend, so I'm all into it now, right? I'm a turkey hunter. So I get my grandfather's old box call, and I conned my sister's husband at the time. He didn't turkey hunt either, but me and a buddy of mine conned him into going turkey hunting with us, so we had somebody to drive us, right? To drive us out there. So the next Saturday, we got a million different strategies planned out all week at school. And the next Saturday comes, and we've got us a chauffeur to come along with us. And we go to this area, and there's like 20 turkeys gobbling in a 100 acre block of timber. It was back then. It was crazy. It was turkeys everywhere. And it was just a ton of turkeys gobbling. It was early in the season. In hindsight, knowing more what was going on, and had no idea back then, I just thought that's how it was. And they were all bunched up, obviously. And there was a bunch of jakes in there with a bunch of 2-year-olds and maybe 1 or 2 dominant birds. And we sit down in this big, pretty hardwood bottom. We can see, several hundred yards. And we sit down at daylight, and they're gobbling, and we're all excited. And we're all sitting in a row, 3 of us. And we got our guns up, and, we're calling a little bit, or what we thought was calling, and turkeys, we saw them fly down, hit out there, 150 yards in front of us, and they're coming, and it's like 10 of them. And, 10 of them now, just running to us. We got this one little feather-flecked hen decoy, like half-cocked out there, like 20 yards in front of us. And they're all come running, and I didn't, again, complete novice, complete learning situation. The turkeys are like 60 yards away, and I just fire down. Boom! And, the turkeys scatter, and the other 2 are like, "What?" So they start shooting. We killed 3 birds at 60 yards. And one Jake and 2 2-year-olds, which was legal back then. It was legal for us, 2 of us anyway, because we were youth. But that was my introduction to it, and it didn't come that easy very often after that. So.
Oh man, it doesn't, and that's what's funny. It was like after my first one, which was in Texas, of all places.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, I'm not saying Texas is easier. Those Rios are real easy, but they're a lot easier than what we hunt down here in the swamps. But
oh yeah.
But yeah, they my first hunt in Texas. I remember after that, I came home and I was hooked. I went and bought me a turkey vest. I went and bought a bunch of calls. I had no idea zero idea what I was doing. I remember going out to this property that was my friend's, and I asked him if he had any turkeys. He was like, "I don't know." He said, "You can go out there." I remember going out there at daylight and just listening. And keep in mind, I had, 2 turkey hunts under my belt. I still didn't know anything of what I was doing. I mean, I might as well have thought that the wind was wrong,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the turkeys. I mean, that's how much I knew about it. And I remember going out there and I just had a box call and I was just walking around box calling and it sounded awful and just it was pathetic what I was doing. But like I said, it just took that one experience that got me really fired up to want to go out. And that's what you and I love to do
Yep.
is giving people that opportunity, that chance. And I thank Matt Duff and Bo Dotley and Mike Miller and Lyle Sinke, all the guys that ever had so much to do with me getting into turkey hunting, because I tell you what, I wouldn't be as excited about it and loving it as much as I do today without them.
Yep. Well, it takes somebody. Somebody's got to take you under
That's
their
right.
wing, and it's definitely turkey hunting is a addictive kind of thing that you just it's just hard to explain. And I don't know how many people I've taken hunting, and obviously the ones that have been able to take a bird, that's really exciting. But even people I've taken that have never hunted before or never turkey hunted before, and we get on a really good hunt where they really get the whole experience, everything but actually taking the shot. And
Yeah.
how many people's response is just, man, I didn't know what to expect, but I never would have thought it was going to be that exciting.
Oh no. Everybody's got that. I mean, I probably the most new people I get to hunt with every year end up being those combat warriors. And most of these guys, they've done some incredible things, and they've been in wars, and they've seen some crazy stuff, and they'll go out there, and we'll have just an incredible hunt, may kill, may not kill, and they'll turn around and be like, man, that was the coolest thing ever. I remember we had one hunt with a guy, and we had crept up on top of this hill, and this guy's actually he's a game warden in Texas. I found that out after the fact, but he had never killed a turkey, and or excuse me, he had been turkey hunting but hadn't been in like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Still hadn't killed a turkey. And so anyway, we crept up, and birds were not gobbling there on the ranch, and it was, I was kind of getting down and beating myself up, as a guide, thinking, man, what could I have done different? I want this guy to kill a bird. And I'm pretty sure it was the last day. And we crept up on this hill, and there were two toms just silent, full strut with a couple hens. I mean, when we crept up there and they were right there, they were in gun range. I mean, we popped up the top of that hill and they were there. We got down immediately. Luckily, I had a little decoy fan with me, and put that in front of me. And I get the guy over my shoulder and trying to help prop him up. I said, man, whenever you get the shot, and there was a guy filming in the back, and he was trying to get it. Well, the guy hunting, he couldn't quite get steady. He goes, oh no, oh no. And I said, what? And I look out over my left shoulder, and I see this whitetail walking in. And she's like, and it's a little doe, and she's like 7 yards. And she's just walking right between us and the turkeys. And so obviously we're not going to shoot. And so then I'm like, oh, it's over. It's over. I mean, this daggum deer is going to run everything. Mm-hmm. Then she starts walking right to us and gets like 5 yards away. Well, the only thing I knew to do, I just started spit drumming. I just started spit drumming and kind of moving that decoy back and forth. That deer just kind of looked at me and then went on about its way. I mean, just crossed right through, didn't blow, didn't do anything. I mean, about 5 seconds after she left, boom, he shoots, and gets his first turkey. And he was like, dude, that's the most, and the footage was pretty cool, but his expression was just, I cannot believe that just happened, you know?
Yeah.
And it seems like every time I go out, either I have, even if it's not an experience where we kill, we learn something, we figure out something for the next time we go out. I mean, how many times have you been out and you go and not killed, and you go, well, I won't do that again?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, what did I do today? I screwed that one up.
Well, I without a doubt, and I know for sure, there's been quite a few birds that I've killed or I've called up for someone else to kill, that the reason I killed them was because of something that I experienced previous with that bird or a very similar
totally.
situation,
Yeah.
and it gave me some sort of insight or intel into making a better decision and having a better chance. I mean, the bird that my son killed for his first bird last year was that way. I mean, I fooled with that bird for 2 days. The season opened on Friday, and on Friday I fooled with the bird and kind of got an idea a little better what he was doing, and then Saturday, I'm pretty sure we would have killed him. I had the right situation, but it got just about enough daylight. I mean, turkeys were just gobbling their heads off, and it got just about enough daylight to be able to see and shoot, and the turkeys hadn't flown down, and it came an absolute monsoon rain. I'm talking about, like, Noah's Ark kind of stuff going on.
Oh, boy.
So that, we were scrambling back to the golf cart to get out of there. But, the next day it cleared off. And the next day, the weather was bad because the front was still pushing. But I had enough information at that point that we snuck in there 30 minutes before, expected gobbling time. And we were in the catbird seat, literally. And it got daylight. And, the only thing that was going to mess us up then was a hen. And we got fortunate, and one of the birds that were roosting on that ridge broke off and came to us, and the rest of them flew down with the hens. And that's, so you're right. You hunt oftentimes, most times when you turkey hunt, if you're able to just communicate with a bird in any way, any amount, you can learn something from it, and it'll help you. And it's just a more fulfilling. I know for myself, like deer hunting, for example, or even duck hunting for that. I'll deer hunt, and you have kind of a mundane hunt where you don't see much or you don't see anything, and you don't really know. You don't know. Did I do something wrong? Did I hunt this stand at the wrong time, or is it just a matter of luck? It's just the deer weren't moving. And duck hunting the same way. I've been in a situation where, I've set up and things didn't. It's like, should I have done something different with the decoys? Should I've hunted a different hole with this wind and this weather? Did I do something where the duck's just not flying? What was it?
That's right.
But turkey hunting, there are those days. There's those days where you leave the woods kind of confused. But most days, if you can hear a bird and you can interact with him even just a little bit, you'll have a better idea of what's going on in their world, and at least maybe where they're at in their whole courtship, grand ceremony that they do throughout the spring. And that's
right.
And I had someone an upcoming podcast with Mr. David Moreland and Mr. Jimmy Stafford, who are both retired wildlife biologists with the state of Louisiana, and they both had pivotal roles in the restocking program back in the 70s that really kind of saved turkey hunting in the state of Louisiana. And these guys, just unbelievable amount of knowledge. And, one of the things in that conversation that Mr. David said, and you'll hear it more completely if you listen to that episode, he talked about patience. And patience is a common thing that you hear heard because you have to be patient when you're turkey hunting. You can't get up and move around and all that kind of stuff. But patience in a bigger picture of looking at the entire season. I realize if you go on a hunt and you got a couple of days to hunt, you kind of just, your strategy goes to, I've got a limited amount of time to make this happen, I got to do it. But if it's a property that you're hunting all year, just understand if you're in Mississippi or Alabama, specifically speaking of them because I know them, and they open early, you might get fortunate, like the story that I just told about my son where a bird breaks off. But a lot of times they're not going to break off. They're going to stay in bunches. And instead of trying to be overly aggressive early in the year when the gobblers are excited, and they'll excite you, but they know that the hens aren't breeding yet. Be patient and learn something, and it'll increase your odds throughout the season rather than putting undue pressure trying to take an aggressive stance on an early season bird that's bunched up with some other birds. And so patience as a turkey hunter affords you so much knowledge and so much experience. So there's you another turkey tip for episode 1.
And to tell you that with something my mom used to tell me is that you gain more wisdom by listening, not talking.
Absolutely.
So
does that mean that we're getting dumber because we're the ones talking and Everybody's listening.
Maybe. So everybody else, yeah, we're getting dumber. They're getting smarter by sucking up all this mojo that we've been putting out here. But I kind of just quickly back to what you had originally asked before I got on my soapbox was what we had planned for this season. Man, we like I said, Mikey and I kind of go with the wind, and so we really depend on the whole idea of this podcast. We kind of depend on that idea where we call friends, we call each other. We say, Mikey will call me and say, hey, they're hard at it in Alabama or Mississippi, wherever he's at. He said, if you got a day or so, you can get down here and we'll kill a couple, And so I'm fortunate that he is out as much as he is, because like I said, he hunts whatever, if it opens March 1st, he's out March 1st. If it closes June 1st, he's hunting until June 1st, whether he's guiding or hunting. I mean, that sucker,
he's as hardcore as they come.
I mean, he is hardcore. And it's one of those things that within Strut Commander, I mean, I wasn't even originally, when we had planned on doing this thing, I didn't really, expect myself to really be involved. I just wanted to cover Mikey. I mean, I wanted the world to see the same guy that I saw, this turkey killer, and all his little quirks and instances where he feeds me so much knowledge. I was like, man, everybody else could do this. Well, I've kind of lucked into it, I guess. I've been blessed that, God's led me to be able to do a little bit of the turkey hunting too. And like I said, fortunate to have Mikey to sit there and just watch him and see what he does and learn from him. I mean, he's 50 years old. He's got more turkey hunting knowledge than I've been alive. And anyway, I'm just blessed to be able to hang out with him.
Well, hopefully we'll get him on here some throughout the season. Let him give us some reports on what he's hearing and seeing and hearing from other hunters in the areas he's in. And we're going to do that with some other people as well. I know I'm going to have Scott Ellis from Woodhaven, and he's out of Florida. Awesome. He's going to come on and talk to us about, his area, and several of the guides that I work with and do a lot of stuff with in Kansas and Missouri and out west, and the guy that I'm going hunting with in Florida. We'll have those guys on, and we're going to do, this episode we haven't been able to do a whole lot of reporting because we don't have a lot to report at this point, but we are going to be providing that kind of information on the regular, and it'll be a regular part of each episode. So be looking for that, and I guess hopefully we're starting to run low on our time here, but hopefully our plan's going to be, we talked about this, we're going to try to record a podcast while we're hunting together in Alabama, and our buddies Jason and Jonathan that we hunt with over there, and we'll try to kind of give a report on what we experience there while we're hunting, and that ought to be fun. Just to get grubs in front of a microphone ought to be kind of interesting.
I talked to him today just for a minute, and I asked him, I said, how are we looking down there? And he said, well, it depends. How old do you want it to be? And I said, I'm good with a 2-year-old. He said, well, we got those. We got them all the way to 4-year-olds.
Well,
I said, okay, well, that sounded good.
Well, the other thing is we're actually hunting in one of these competitions, this charity deal where it's a big competition for it's held out of a country club there, and part of the money goes to I don't even know. I'll be honest, we just go with Jonathan and Jason.
He invited us to a good spot to go turkey hunting, and it's for a good cause. How about that?
That's what we know. But we go eat a supper and go hunting with them. So, but it's part of that. So, we're going to be trying to kill a big bird too, so we can cash in on some of that. That's right. That winnings, and I'm actually hunting the big championship in Kentucky mid-April at Whitetail Heaven. Awesome. Yes, so
that's cool.
That's going to be happening. We'll be talking to some people in Kentucky leading up to that as well. So, but for now, let's try to wrap it up, and we will be back in a week. Well, this will be the fourth, the first episode, and we'll be back every Monday, and Jordan will be a frequent flyer here to give us his knowledge and insight and whatever else he can come up with. So
Oh
I
yeah,
appreciate you
and
coming on, man.
we want to hear from the followers too.
Absolutely.
So if you've got something, whether you've got a report to give us, we'll give you a shout out on here. What we're hearing, let us know on Instagram. Also, we want to be able to talk about some stuff that you guys think is interesting.
Absolutely.
So I get a lot of people asking me, what kind of video equipment do I need to film turkey hunts, or how do y'all do self-film hunts, or just different stuff like that too, that, we're happy to talk about. And if you got anything you're curious about, let us know.
Yep. We're going to, as this thing unfolds and we get deeper into it, we're going to utilize that website and our social media platform to interact with people and get people more involved. And like I said, once again, to make this a community type thing that benefits a lot of turkey hunters in a lot of ways. And we're just going to be the moderators of said, because we're both fortunate, like you said. God's blessed both of us to be able to turkey hunt a lot and all that. But when it comes to, I meet people every year, different places I go, that are absolute just jam up turkey killers, and there's a lot of them out there. And just because we hunt a lot doesn't mean that we're necessarily a better hunter than any given person. So we want to hear from that valuable information from other people too. So chime in, and we'll be letting you know on some different things that we do throughout the spring to get people more involved. And we want to showcase your pictures, man. If with youth season right now starting up, several youth seasons starting up here over the next couple of weeks, man, if your kids kill a turkey, please send us a picture so we can stick it on the website. If you video it, and you can get it on YouTube, or you want us to help you get it on YouTube, we'll post the video on our social media, on our website as well, and do all of that. So that's the direction we're going. We hope you guys will tune in week after week and let us know what you want to hear. If there's something you want to hear us talk about, or somebody you want to try to get us to have on here to talk, or anything, let us know. So we're going to wrap up with that. And Jordan, I appreciate you coming on today, and I will talk to you soon, bud.
Thanks, man. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to next week already.
A huge thank you again to Jordan for coming on the podcast here and help us getting started here with episode 1. And I want to encourage you to go out and check out Strut Commander, check out Jordan on Facebook and Instagram, and follow along with him. And episode 2 is going to be very interesting. I have a couple of guests on that are retired Louisiana state biologists that had a big part in the restocking program of the wild turkey in the state of Louisiana, and really saved turkey hunting for the state of Louisiana. And that's Mr. David Moreland and Mr. Jimmy Stafford. And Mr. Jimmy Stafford actually has a book that you can get on Amazon. It's Wild Turkeys in Louisiana, and it is full of biology and science and facts and history and all sorts of information. So we're going to dive off into that, and with this really being preseason and just a little bit of early season stuff going on, we're going to dive into that and talk a lot about habitat management, about population management, and a lot of other things. So I encourage you to look for that episode, to tune in. It's going to be exciting. And in closing, I want to say and encourage you all to say a prayer of thanks for our natural resources and for the rights and privileges that we have, and pray for our lawmakers and our politicians and our legislatures, because the rights that we have as hunters and outdoorsmen could easily be taken away, and it's very fragile. And in the state of our current nation and the way things are, we need to be good stewards. We need to be good sportsmen and protect at all costs for future generations turkey hunting and all forms of hunting. So with that being said, thank you again for tuning in, and I hope you will tune in next week, and we'll talk to you then.